But the end was the great part, which is we have this baby, we've done right by the baby, but being who we are, we find a great home for the baby, we find great adoptive parents, and we sell them the baby.
Right. For a big payday. So it all works out in the end, you understand, you feel better, right? You all feel better.
So it doesn't, you get into the 3 minute a baby, all cuteness, but at the end we're just a bunch of dickhead mercenaries.
3 men and a $400,000 baby.
Writers' rooms can get very dark.
Oh, very dark. Yes.
Other questions? Yes, right here. Wait for the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry, really quickly, I remember pitching Joss a hermaphroditic companion. As like the ultimate champion companion who could go anyway, swing any way you wanted, just beautiful, like androgyne kind of thing, right? And he was just like, that's not sexy. I was like, all right, I guess, I don't know. Sorry.
That's okay. Being both an improviser and a writer, I often kind of am at odds with myself because I want them to all read what's on the page, but I also understand the need for improvising. What do you guys allow improvising at all, or do you accept that people are going to do it no matter what?
On Firefly, everything was pretty darn scripted.
Except for, I was thinking of buying a hat. Wasn't it?
We came a while that was a little bit of filler, and every once in a while, like Alan Tudyk would throw in something, or like Tim I knew the one who directed Bushwhacked, actually sat him down and went, go. He'd written some stuff for him, but he was like,
the interview section where he was like talking to the Alliance.
Right.
Yeah, that was great.
And I remember because it was the first set of dailies that I remember seeing was when Tim said just go. He just started going off on tangents, and one of the things he said, he went off on a Zoe tangent and how incredibly beautiful and how she was an Amazon woman, and he goes like, there's not a place on that woman I wouldn't put my tongue. But of course that didn't make it. But most 99.9% of the show was scripted.
Especially, although there was room, I think, in the language for it, but a lot of the language was as we were saying, like a new form that we were playing with.
And this is, listen, I've been doing the Nerdist Writers panel for a while now, available on iTunes. And we've had a bunch of, former Whedon writers, some former Sorkin writers, Milch writers, and this seems to be with these, showrunners with very strong language obsessions, you might say, but even very strong worldviews.
Right.
The actors are not allowed. They're just, you keep to the script, but that's not to say that there isn't room to play.
It's often mannerisms and like that human exchange moments and maybe pauses that are taken, and you see a lot of it's not improvising, it's actually acting, but it's like it's filling the material with all the humanity and reality that isn't there on the page.
Yeah, delivering these lines in an unexpected way. We saw it here tonight. I think Alan and Adam both had some amazing deliveries. Really. What could have been very dry lines.
It's true, and I've forgotten how just constantly comic Jane is. Like always comic. Like maybe once in a while he's supposed to be dangerous or angry, but seldom is he not funny. He's just
Well, he's Chewbacca, right?
In terms of delivering lines, a lot of the times it's even not delivering lines. Like when Saffron is giving her big pitch, and Jewel and Kaylee and Wash are looking at her. Kaylee's like this. And Wash's face is just contorting into this. And it was just, you put the camera on them and you go, okay, you're listening, react. But you could always cut to them for a laugh.
Right.
And the thing when Mal's going up the stairs with a bloody nose and Alan goes, that's, it wasn't scripted, but.
You get strong actors. That's the kind of stuff you get. More questions.
Can you
wait for her?
I don't necessarily need a mic, I don't think.
You do.
I do? All right. Can you tell us a little bit from kind of the beginning of creation of a story, or one episode, all the way to the end of filming, kind of how long that takes and what phases it might go through or changes?
I always
Yeah,
forget.
what was the production schedule on this? Because it's an ambitious show. There's a lot of characters to serve.
And we were
a lot of
always late
actors.
with the scripts.
Yes.
We were
No,
always
it
late.
was, that was...
What kind of turnarounds did you have? Say, in the heat of it, in the middle of the season.
The scripts, I mean, that was a first season show, so the scripts, like, we were getting into some issues with directors, I think. I mean, there were, like,
we had trouble with the directors,
like, we
yeah.
had the DGA problems. I got hit with a hammer handle. No, I'm kidding. I didn't get hit.
DGA is tough.
They're rough, man. No, but, yeah, we were turning in things in prep. Like, there was one that was, like, was it an outline in prep?
Yeah, Ariel was, they prepped off of the outline for like 3 days.
For a spaceship show coming from scratch in, like, I mean, like, yeah.
And this one specifically that has an alien planet
Yes, a whole
that has
new
to be
planet.
dressed, all these people wardrobed, the little chopper thingy, ambulance needs to be built. There was a lot of work for them to be working off the outline.
Yeah, it was insane. And that, that made it hard to tell exactly how long. There was no, again, there's very little bit is typical in the first year, I think, as a rule. But, the stages are basically, an idea is put forward, everyone, Joss sort of goes, that's the one, everyone starts to put their energy toward that idea, it becomes, in that case, what do we call them, premises or arenas or synopsis? What were the
Story areas, I think?
story areas? So you get this like little chunk that becomes the basic synopsis of the story, and then it goes off, it gets approved.
Which is like a page or two.
Yeah,
right?
about a page and a half, maybe, roughly. And then comes back, it's then thrown up on the wall, and you are breaking it act for act, teaser to the 4 acts of that structure. And you start to write in all of the scenes. These, like, first it's like beating. You work out the beats, and each beat represents basically what you want to have happen and what would ultimately become a scene. And you pursue the break until it gets to an outline. The outline is turned in.
And it's a pretty thorough outline, right?
Yeah,
It was
these
like
are-
a good 20,
Yeah, from
15,
the board,
20 page outline.
from the board you can go, the beat is just Mal and Inara fight. And then when you go to outline, you would write, because now people need to read it and they need to know what prompts are needed,
Right.
whatever.
Especially when you're going to prep off the outlines.
Yeah.
Quite-
But yeah, so like 10, 15, 12,
Yeah,
15.
because all the production starts based on that outline.
yeah.
That's
where-
yeah, it's about 15 pages, something
And-
like that. And then
yeah.
the writing, right?
Mhm. And then the writing, which supposedly you're supposed to get 2 weeks, I think, by the DGA standard. I don't know, it's ones where you get like days or something. I mean, like, it's just crazy. Like, maybe I'm wrong about that. Isn't that true?
You're supposed I think if you're a freelancer, they're supposed to give you 2 weeks.
Yeah. Not that ever happens. I've never seen it. Like, it's just,
Script and, well, except for Law and Order, because that was just a machine. Nobody ever writes.
yeah. I mean, in this case, especially, and this is, I think, part of how you make a show as distinctive as Firefly, and it requires, I think, more upfront effort and work. There's a bottleneck that takes place. That same thing we're talking about with, like, Joss pursuing a vision, us trying to help him on that pursuit. Things have to pass through the eye of a needle in order for it to be of itself, really. So things slowed down. We would wait until an idea worked for Joss. And so, like, that was part of what kept us up against these lines. But I think it was the right thing, because the ideas that were selected and whatever time that gave him to choose shows, I think it makes it why people care.
Yeah, absolutely. More questions? Yeah, right here.
What are your plans?
Where's the microphone?
Oh, sorry. What do you
Where's some hustle here?
Okay.
Yeah. Great job.
What projects are you working on now, and are there future plans for Serenity or for this storyline to continue?
I plan on doing it myself and no one else is approving.
Right, sure. With action figures.
Like Todd Haynes' Bart. No.
These guys are both on staff of shows.
Yeah.
So their time is pretty much eaten up by that, right?
Yeah, like I'm on Supernatural. You are currently on Vampire Diaries.
Yep.
You've been on just recently though. Like, well, you're starting.
Yeah, well, officially we're starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we've been there.
Right. Yeah. And I continue to work on my own nonsense, and one day I might deem it viewable by other people.
But there, as far as I know, there's no plan to make any more because
I know they're doing, whoever owns the comic books, they're doing a series of one-shots and things like that. But, I mean, and I think I talked to Zach Wheaton recently, who just had one out, and I think he's doing another one.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good universe.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the underlying template for the universe, I think, especially for a show that's being produced in the Los Angeles area, in the Scrub Chaparral area, when you're doing terraform, like it was just a very wise way of doing all of it, and that's why it felt like it just held itself up, I think, partly. Anyway, I think it could return, it's just one of those things that's a fertile place, but it wouldn't be, one of the biggest issues would be, that'd be interesting, you know what would be really interesting, is,
Here we go.
15 years from now, the Sunshine Boys.
Get the gang back together. Yeah.
Anyway.
Other questions? No questions about Nathan Fillion? Yeah.
Yeah. Before you worked on Firefly, you also worked on Dark Angel. And can you talk about just some of your writing experience with that?
Oh, it's hard for me. I don't remember a single thing from that.
I mean, my experience on Dark Angel was awesome. It was my first job, my first professional job, and it happened to be writing for James Cameron. So I learned a ton from that staff, from Renee Echeverria especially, and I actually got to write with and for Jim, like in a room with him, breaking story, and then writing a big fight sequence that I knew he was going to direct. And you know, when you're writing a fight sequence for Jim Cameron, you're not fucking around. you better write a pretty good sequence. So yeah, I mean, I have nothing but awesome, fun stories. That's where ET
It's a whole other panel. Yeah, let's do that next year. We have time for one more question, if anyone has. Only one of you can do it.
Excellent.
Okay, so I was just sort of wondering, y'all sitting back there, what is it like listening to an audience sort of react to something you've written, especially you, since you said this is like the first time you've seen it since it aired?
All right.
This is a great question to end the festival.
Yes. Excellent. It's great. It's unusual to see TV in this format. So, like, to see it with a live audience is really, really, as long as the piece works more or less, it's really, really gratifying. It's really nice to hear that feedback because it's really one of the things that doesn't routinely happen. As a movie maker, you could go and watch an audience, you know, during that. It's unusual for that to take place. It's very instructive, I've always found, because that's where you get the live feedback. You can actually, I don't know, you can really sense things that really work. You can sense things that people want to work and they're kind of working. I mean, like, you can really feel some things there that I think it's a good practice to get that experience when you can. I enjoyed it. Great.
It's pretty hysterical for me to see it because I've seen it a few times, but more than that, I'm enough of like a web geek and on Twitter and on, you know, I'm out on the internet seeking out geeky stuff all the time. So I run across Firefly a fair amount, and so I know which lines and which moments are popular from this episode. And having talked to Nathan, working on Castle with him, I know what he liked, and I know the response that he's gotten. So even though I've never seen it with another human being in my life, I was kind of waiting for the laughs and the reactions to certain moments.
Yeah, I mean, it's really something for you guys to know, and we've actually talked about this quite a bit this weekend amongst ourselves. These shows wouldn't exist without the fans. You know, we know how much you guys enjoy them, and it does us so proud that you do. You know, and that's what this festival has been, is a celebration of not so much TV, but everyone's enjoyment of television. So give yourselves a round of applause. And also give these guys a round of applause. Thank you.